Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Halfback Dynasty. My name is Brendan. We are joined today with our co-host, Tyler, the legendary Gator Sens. Tyler, how the heck you feeling, my man?
Feeling fantastic, Brendan. Long weekend here. Just getting done with some eating some good food, some coffee. Great stuff, man. I got a short story for you real quick. Was talking with my processor at work yesterday, knocked on her office door. Usually she works from home, popped in to review a file with her. And I looked down at her phone because she paused it and she was listening to the Fantasy Guys podcast. So shot her all our info, let her know there's better content out there. So hopefully our girl Caitlin will be jumping ship.
And it's not just better content, it's the best content, Tyler.
It's true, man. Most accurate. It's just great. So
listen, we drink 5 p.m. coffees just to prepare for this. Isn't that right, Tyler?
It's true, man. I got about halfway through this over half this 24 ouncer here. So I'm ready to go. Probably going to be filming till at least midnight tonight.
Good. Well, luckily there's a lot of content to be had. So perfect, man. Glad you're doing well. Yeah, so for everyone keeping up, we've been doing some top 5 rankings for Dynasty football here. We've already covered our top 5 running backs, top 5 wide receivers. So make sure you go check out those videos if you haven't yet. Tyler's also been writing some great articles for our Patreon. That's still moving along. We just got our rankings pinned. So we'll be at the top of the page once you subscribe, which we're really excited about. Tyler, how often do you think we'll change the rankings, like monthly or whatnot?
I think probably, every month or so in the off season, just kind of leading up. I think in season is tricky to adjust rankings just because weekly it's going to be, we know through fantasy weekly NFL is just an absolute disaster. So I think once you get to that part of the season, you're probably pretty good. But there's going to be injuries in training camp, unfortunately, all that stuff that's going to play a huge factor. There's going to be storylines. So yeah, I think we probably update definitely pretty heavily throughout the off season, and then in season. I think when rankings get updated in season are a little bit too fluid because the NFL is a disaster week to week. So, when your number one running back comes out and scores a 3 1 week, does he drop to, running back 30? But, the NFL, man, last year, I thought specifically, it was just, you couldn't rely on anything. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, with Cordero Patterson coming out hot, he was probably number one dynasty asset overall last year for 5 weeks, and then now he's dipped to probably dynasty asset 180, whatever he's ranked at. So
yeah, a lot of people trading the 1-1 for Patterson in season.
Yeah, you love to see it. You love to see it. Cool. Well, awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good strategy here. As you mentioned, once you kind of get into the actual season, things solidify. A little bit more difficult to move guys around just because you need to have more than a few weeks sample. I think we should maybe do a top 5 players that we think might tear an ACL before the regular season. That could be a good video because every year, man, there's like 5+ running backs that have a terrible injury preseason. So maybe we'll do a video and we'll name all the players that we don't specifically have on our rosters. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, man, it is. I'm always holding my breath all off season that there's no off field issues. There's no injuries, nothing, it's always never something you want to read, kind of like Travis Etienne sticks out last year that was just devastating.
Every Ravens
people that took him. Yeah. It's just brutal.
So cool. Well, we wish good health upon every player that's hoping to have a great season this year. Tyler, let's go ahead and jump right into our top 5 quarterbacks. I think we'll lead off with quarterbacks today. In the next episode, we'll finish off with the tight ends. just because tight ends are a little more of a crapshoot. So the game flow that we've had the past few episodes have definitely been working out. I love giving you the honors just because it gives me time to maybe shuffle things around live while recording in case I'm way off. Just joking. My rankings are solidified, brother. You can't tell me otherwise. Nothing will change my own rankings. But how do you feel about going first again?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Got them pulled up right now.
All right, perfect. Tyler, legendary Gator Sense. Who do you have as your Dynasty QB1?
I've still got Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I think he's obviously losing Hill hurt quite a bit. Kelsey's getting older, but to me, I mean, the top 5 QBs are so interchangeable. I mean, I remember a few years ago, everybody said Patrick Mahomes is going to be the QB1 for the next 14 years. He's had one number 1 overall QB season. So these guys will all fluctuate from scoring wise QB1 through QB10. You know, they're all pretty interchangeable, but I still think Mahomes has all the tools. He had a rather disappointing season last year and was still the QB4. I mean, I had him on one of my teams, and there was weeks that he was putting up, teens. It was rather shocking, but I would still rather have Mahomes if I had to bank on any QB as a contender. I think I'd still rather have Mahomes over any other quarterback.
That's fair. Definitely fair. This is why I said pre-show that I'm not sure if I believe Mahomes is the number 1 guy. Let me rephrase. I said I have some negative things to say about Mahomes. I don't have him at number 1. I have Josh Allen at number 1. I'm going to assume you have Josh Allen at number 2. Is that correct?
I have him at number 2, right behind Mahomes, actually, in my rankings too. So
good. So here's where I see the difference between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I see Josh Allen continuing to rise because he's retained all of his offensive weapons. His running abilities are way better than Patrick Mahomes' abilities. Granted, I'm sure the Bills want to make sure he doesn't run the ball as much, right? But I think that Allen is a way safer floor. As you mentioned, Patrick Mahomes was sketchy. And it's funny we say throwing up, points in the teens. I mean, that's definitely not enough for your elite quarterback. But here's what he doesn't have going for him. He did lose Tyreek Hill. He's got a Bill report with 2 new guys, Juju Smith-Schuster, who's honestly a crapshoot at this point. Really don't know what he's going to do. The idea is Mahomes can make anyone the best wide receiver in the game, so we'll see if that happens. Secondly, you have Sky Moore, who's probably this year's CEH. I'd probably stay away at the mid first-round value. But I just think that he's reached his pinnacle. I think he's a great playmaker, but I think Tyreek Hill kind of saved him in a lot of situations. Travis Kelce is probably out on his way out too in the next couple years. I just don't see the offense continuing to be that potent. And as great as Mahomes is, I'm sure he'll be fine. I don't see him though being the number 1 quarterback in these next few years. I feel bad for saying that because you're right. It wasn't just 14 years he was going to be the number 1 quarterback. Tyler, it was like the next 30 years, bro. That guy was going to be number 1 until he was 55. But that's why I don't have him at number 1. I know Josh Allen's got a new quarterback coach this year, but in the end, that offense is just pure fire, man. And I really think that the running abilities, especially in 6-point touchdowns, rushing touchdown scoring system, I think that Josh Allen is number 1. It's probably flippable, is it not?
Yeah, I think it's flippable. And I think they're both kind of cautionary tales of, sometimes people get a little bit too carried away in Dynasty for, look at Chase and Jefferson. How many times do you read, oh, these guys are the top wide receivers for the next 12 years? You have no idea if that's true. What could happen? I mean, rewind 3 years ago, who was the number 1 QB? It was Lamar Jackson, hands down. He was untouchable. You couldn't do anything. That's why I think these top tier quarterbacks are all interchangeable. They're all going to be in the top 10. They're all going to have a QB 1 year, a QB number 2 overall. I think they're just all over the place. And while I totally agree that losing Hill really hurts Mahomes, I think Mahomes will have a similar season than he has in the past, but he'll get there a different way. I think he'll be more like Brady in a sense that he dinks and dunks. He isn't going to have a 70-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill that boosts his stats, but he'll have an extra 6 completions of, 15 yards. So I think he'll have similar numbers. It just won't be as exciting or flashy as it has been in the past. And I think even though I'm very cautious about CEH, I think CEH will get more involved in the passing, which will help. That's ultimately why they brought him in. They've just never used him that way.
What a horrible pick, man.
Yeah, it's a terrible pick.
Jesus.
But yeah, I agree with you. I've, wrote a ton of responses on forums that, be careful with Sky Moore. Cause yeah, I think he is this year's CEH. People just think he's amazing. Juju's not a good football player. If you go back and look at his routes run, he's always in the red, which means he never gets open. So I do think there is a lot going against Mahomes, but I'm still banking on Mahomes' skill level. And like you said, right behind him, I had Josh Allen, who does have a much better offense on paper. Diggs is still a top 15 WR. I expect Gabriel Davis to make a nice jump. I do worry about Allen because of how much they rely on his legs, even if they don't want to in the red zone. He runs a lot, and obviously you're going to get hurt at some point. I hope he doesn't, but the biggest knock against him is his running, in my opinion, because remember a couple of years ago when Mahomes started to kind of hit this weird dip that he's in, he was running a lot and he got hurt, and you could tell he was hurt, and he kept playing through it, and he hasn't been the same quarterback since, really. So that is my concern with Allen, but still have him at 3, or excuse me, at 2. And my third guy, I really struggled not to put above Allen. I just couldn't, but I'm sure it's the same as your third guy. I've got Justin Herbert at 3.
That's my boy.
Justin Herbert got a fantastic offense. He has probably the most underrated receiver in the NFL. Keenan Allen's elite. He's an elite route runner. He doesn't rely on speed. So I don't think Herbert will have any issues as he hits 30. And obviously Eckler is a huge safety blanket for Herbert. So of the 3, I could see Herbert jumping highest and the other 2 falling,
I agree.
to be honest. Because Herbert has the very young age on his side too, which
got a cannon, bro.
Yeah, we've talked about age is all that matters in Dynasty. Oh, that dude's 23. He's way better than this 29-year-old who outscored him by 400 points, Yeah,
Herbert's 2 years younger than Allen and Mahomes. Yep. So, and don't quote me on this, but he's got to have the record at the youngest quarterback to ever eclipse 5,000 passing yards. I don't know if that's true,
He's
but
been a beast.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be a record because doing that at age 23/24 is impressive. I think Herbert, you took the words right out of my mouth. I agree that Herbert is the one that's probably going to ascend up to QB1 next year, for being honest. His first 2 campaigns were ridiculously good. And I don't even think that they had the intention to start him that early as they did the rookie season. But, of course, the trainers of Tyrod Taylor decided to, perform some stupid whatever they did, the punctured lung or whatever it was.
That's brutal, man.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I feel really bad. But, just to give some statistics, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes have had very consistent years, actually, the past 2 years. Both of them threw within 1 touchdown as the previous season. They both had a few more interceptions. Patrick Mahomes had 13 picks this past season compared to his 6, which, I mean, he doubled, but 13 is still pretty low.
It's still pretty low.
It's pretty low. Josh Allen went up to 15 from 10. Here's where Justin Herbert comes in. 38 touchdowns, which was more than Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and then 15 interceptions. He broke 5,000 yards, which again is incredible. I think his ceiling is the highest, even though he doesn't run. I think that guy is going to eclipse like 45 touchdowns this year, man. I could see
it happen, man. He's got a dynamite pair. I mean, Mike Williams is no slouch. He just throw it up in the air, he'll go get it. And again, Eckler is just
a machine.
I mean, I'm not a huge Eckler guy, but it's hard to argue with his success anymore. The only thing I think could hurt Herbert slightly is I really do think Isaiah Spiller is going to take a lot of goal line touches away from Eckler, because Spiller's a beast. He's built more like a prototypical NFL back, where Eckler is smaller. Not that Eckler hasn't had the success, but I think Spiller's going to get more looks than people think, which will
Sure.
take away a few, 3 to 4 touchdowns from Herbert probably.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what's crazy is the AFC is just loaded with young quarterbacks, man. Like,
Yeah, it really is.
absolutely loaded. In fact, every quarterback on my list today is in the AFC.
Well, how about that division, man? Now with the Wilson trade, you've got Wilson, Herbert, Carr, Mahomes, all in the same division.
It's crazy.
That's pretty powerful group. I mean, Carr is underrated, man. He's a good quarterback, and he's got Devontae Adams now.
It's funny that he's
crazy.
Probably the worst quarterback in that division. Yeah, he's probably still like a top 15 NFL quarterback. So it's ridiculous.
It's crazy, man.
How do you see that shaking out? I low key think that I think it'll go Chargers clinching, and then I think it's going to be the Chiefs, Broncos, and then sadly Vegas. That's kind of how I'm predicting it.
I'm going after this year. Obviously, Stan Kroenke owns the Broncos. I'm going all in, man. Stan Kroenke just won a title, or no, he doesn't own the Broncos. What am I talking about? Never mind that. I'm still going. I'm still going all in for Colorado. We won the Cup this year. We won the National Lacrosse Tournament.
Yeah.
The Broncos are going to win it, and obviously the Nuggets are going to win it. So I'm going all in on Denver. I think Denver is going to be actually a really, really good team with Wilson because they have stacked defense, pretty good offense now that they actually have somebody that can throw. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be tough. I mean, you're going to have to be a really good team, but I'm still going to go with Denver on the even if it is a little homer, Doesn't
John Elway own the Broncos?
It's still the Bolins just sold. It's the dude from Walmart. Walmart essentially bought the Broncos like 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's pretty
cool. As much as I despise monopolies and corporations like that, the hope is that, they're thinking that he's going to build like a SoFi type stadium / neighborhood something. So, I mean,
money.
Very few have more money than that, right?
Yeah, dope. Well, I'm rooting for the Broncos. I'm rooting for Jerry Jeudy.
Hope they play well, man. I do.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people don't like Russell Wilson in Dynasty because of his age, but he's only like 33, 34.
Yeah, he's not that old.
He'll be on just as potent of an offense as he was in Seattle. So, in fact, better. Honestly, he might be on.
Yeah, I think it's probably better. I mean, Brady's 65 and he was the QB1 last year.
Crazy. He's crazy. I don't want to get off topic too quick or too much, but real quickly, who do you think's a better wide receiver duo? Honest opinion. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, or Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy?
I would have to say at this point, Metcalf and Lockett. I mean, Lockett's been extremely underrated and very, very solid. Outside of a pure volume-driven season, Sutton and Jeudy have a tremendous amount to prove. I think on paper, they look great.
Dude, that's two names that I like on my team. Jeez.
Yeah, they look great, but no, they got a lot to prove.
Yeah, cool. All right, I was dying to know. So, all right, so we just did top 3. Let's go ahead and move into numero cuatro, number 4. Who do you got, my man?
Number 4 is my overall highest ceiling player in all of fantasy. I don't care if we're talking wide receivers, running backs, anything. I've got Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, we saw what he did his MVP year. If he stays healthy and puts it all together, there's no better quarterback in all of Dynasty. I don't think there's a better player in all of Dynasty than Lamar Jackson. I mean, if he's throwing for 35 touchdowns, 3,000 to 4,000 yards, rushing for another 1,000 plus and 10 TDs. To me, he's, like I keep saying, the best overall ceiling in Dynasty. He's just a monster.
Yeah, I mean, he's eclipsed 1,000 rushing yards twice. Last year, I mean, pretty sure he was injured a few games.
He was.
He had over 700 rushing yards. I mean, the guy's a monster. I have him at number 5 just because he was injured and missed quite a few games. But that's another team that is just so potent, man. So potent. And in fantasy football, especially Superflex, the guys that can run have a way higher ceiling. It's just it's the way that it goes. I think that he can only get better at passing, only can get more accurate. I think that he's on another offense that's up and coming still. I know he's been incredibly good, even prior. But you have J.K. Dobbins looking to make an appearance again. You have Rashad Bateman, who's gaining a lot of hype right now as hopefully a good alpha receiver. Yeah, he can only go up. I have Lamar Jackson at number 5. As I mentioned, the injury kind of scared me. I think he's built a little slimmer than Josh Allen. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the size and weights of him, but I think he's a little more prone to injuries. And I also think that he does a lot more cutting than Josh Allen, which
he does.
is kind of sketchy for an ankle or a hammy. So, if he's fully healthy, he probably is the quarterback 1, but I have to imagine from here on out, he's going to miss a few games. I actually had Joe Burrow at 4. You got him at 5?
I do. I have him at 5, and
Nice.
again, right behind Jackson in my overall rankings. So
nice, perfect. So yeah, it looks like our rankings are all very similar. Obviously, a few interchangeable. But let's go back to Lamar Jackson. He takes him to the playoffs every year. I don't even think that he's necessarily had the best offense the past 3 years.
he really
I
hasn't.
think he just carries them, bro. He legit just carries them. What was devastating, I'm pretty sure it was last season, dude, they lost like 3 games in the fourth quarter going for the win on an expiring clock play. And it was just so devastating, dude, because you want to see Lamar succeed, brother.
He's so fun to watch. Yeah, he's such a fun player to watch. And I think the thing that saves Jackson so far anyways is if you watch him every week, he doesn't take very many hits for how much he runs. He's very cautious, very smart when to go down, when to step out of bounds or whatever. So I do think Dobbins will take a little bit away from his rushing this year, but I still think Jackson's he's kind of on a different level when he puts it all together than anybody else. And he's still really young for how long he's been in the league. He's very young.
Yeah, I want to say he's only 25.
Yeah, he's 24 or 25. I think he came in at 20. So I think he's got like a late birthday or something too. So
yeah. So let's see how many touchdowns he averages. 2018, he had 5 on the ground, 7, then 2, obviously, because he was injured. Passing wise, he hits around 3,500 every season. And let's see, how many teeters does he throw? It's got to be like 30, right? My guess is like 30.
Yeah, 20, maybe high 20s. Outside of that MVP year.
Is that a concern? Is that a concern for you? The lack of touchdowns? He went 6, 36, 26, 16.
I mean, it's a little concerning, but like you said, I think that offense has not been good for so long that hopefully Bateman helps that. Obviously, Andrews in reality is probably the best tight end in fantasy, but obviously Pitts always gets that because of his age. But I think last year and not having Dobbins hurt, I really do. I mean, Dobbins opens up more passing lanes for Jackson, whereas nobody was concerned about Devonta Freeman running the ball. So I expect his numbers to bounce back pretty hard because I think he missed 3 or 4 games because Tyler Huntley stepped in, was like a league winner, so I expect his numbers to rebound quite a bit.
So piggybacking off my statement about the accuracy, when I'm looking back at the numbers, Lamar Jackson is actually on par in terms of his completion percentage as the other elite quarterbacks we mentioned. They all hover, between 65 and 70%. However, Lamar Jackson's sample size is way lower than these other guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those guys are throwing the ball, 350 plus 400 times. Lamar's only doing about 250. So if you give him those other throws, I bet you his completion percentage kind of decreases. But the flip side of that coin is, hey, you got an RB1 with your quarterback 1 when you got Lamar Jackson out there in your lineup. So I love it, man. I love it. Great pick at number 4 for you. Let's talk about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow actually had the highest completion percentage amongst everyone that we've ranked today at 70.4%. That's wicked, bro. That's such a wicked completion percentage. Every 7 out of 10 passes you throw is going to be caught. I mean, he's got arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league. He's got a great running back, chalked up 4,600 passing yards, 34 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. That's as good as you're going to get, man. Even beyond this, like such a young quarterback, what more could you want?
Yeah, he's incredible. Obviously, like you mentioned, what's also big is how good of a catcher Mixon is.
Hmm.
It gets him a lot. Obviously, they brought in Hayden Hurst, who's shown in the past he can be a really good tight end.
Hmm.
So he's even more loaded this year than he was last year. Obviously, like you said, best receiver core in the NFL. I'm not sure how anybody could argue that. Having
Hmm.
Chase and Higgins, they're both under 23. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, coming out of this year, I wouldn't be surprised, like we talked about with Herbert, if the 1 and 2 is Herbert Burrow,
Hmm.
and Mahomes, Allen, Jackson all take a step back in the rankings. They kind of look like the next big two. And
Hmm.
I mean, outside of the scary knee injury, I don't think there's anything not to like with Burrow because he can also run, which
Hmm.
is not something he relies on, but that's an added bonus that when something breaks down, he can grab 30, 40 yards a game, get you an extra 3 or 4 points.
Dude, that injury was so nasty.
That was awful, man.
That
It's
was
terrible.
so bad to see. I'm not gonna lie. I
Yeah.
did not enjoy seeing that.
Yeah. And I
Um,
really like Burrow, like outside of the game, so I would love
oh
to
yeah,
see
dude, he's a
him.
G. He's
Yeah,
for
I'd love to
sure a
see him
G.
succeed.
And he's got good morals. He's got good morals, but he's
Yeah,
just
he seems
cool.
like a nice guy.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool.
Well, I
All
have a
right, well,
bonus question for you, Brendan, before we sign off here.
yes, sir.
Who do you think has your top choice, the best chance to sneak into the top 5 with like a monster rise or a huge year?
In terms of quarterbacks,
Yep.
that's tough. I'm not really a fan of Kyler Murray. I got to be honest with you. It does sound like he's kind of dramatic, so I could see some issues out in Arizona. Um, I think Dak Prescott has a great shot at eclipsing top 5, but that would be a boring selection. Why don't I throw out? Let's see. I don't know, man. If I gotta be honest with you, like top 5 finish or top 5 dynasty ranking.
Just kind of climbs up into the top 5 ranking.
Because I was gonna say Kirk Cousins for me has a great chance to finish top 5 QB.
He's got the best WR in the league.
Yeah, so I think hear me out. Hear me out. It might take more than 1 year, but it's a hit or miss. My boy Justin Fields, bro. If he could figure out,
Okay.
if he could, I don't think he could eclipse top 5 because that offense is complete dog doo doo. But if he can at least take a step in the right direction, his value is going to skyrocket. Same with Trevor Lawrence. The problem is their offense is legit suck and they can't do anything about it. So if
Sure.
I had to pick a quarterback, just top 5 ranking, Dak Prescott would be the guy most likely.
Okay.
I think he has a chance to throw for 6,000 yards this year, bro. The guy's a monster.
Yeah, they throw like 80 times a game. So
It's ridiculous. How about you? How about you?
I mean, I'm gonna go way out on a limb. Mine would either be Lawrence or Trey Lance. I think both of them just because of age, hype, upside. I mean, people want Lawrence to be good.
Yeah.
I think if he has a top 10 fantasy season, he'll jump into the top 5 easily because people love him. You've been waiting on him for 4
Generational.
years. So,
Mhm.
and I think Trey Lance has a ton of question marks, but man, if he puts it all together, that kid's he's going to be like a mini Lamar Jackson. He's just going to be so good. And his
Jesus,
passing
bro.
might not always be there, but his legs will be. So, I
You
mean,
just wanted a chance to get his name in the episode, brother.
You
Come
know
on,
me,
I know
I
what you're
am
doing.
all in on Trey Lance. So if it costs me a couple of years, it does, but I'm going all in on Trey Lance. I'm trying to trade for him in our other league that you and I are in. I've been trying all off season because he got sniped the pick before I was going to take him. And I mean, my biggest thing with him is yards after catch for Ayuk. I am a huge Ayuk fan. I think he's going to tear it up with Lance. So,
hey, hopefully San Fran puts it together. And one thing that San Francisco has shown is doesn't matter who's on the field, bro. They get it done.
They do. Yeah.
They get it done out
Garoppolo's not good, and they look pretty good with him. So
yeah, dope, man. Cool. Well, there you have it, folks. Top 5 rankings. All of our rankings again are posted on Patreon, so feel free to go check it out and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. But yeah, next episode we'll cover tight ends, which should be incredibly boring. But really looking forward to it, Tyler.
Yeah, me too. I wonder who the number one overall is going to be. I'm very interested to hear.
Cole Kmet. That's my boy.
So
So
you got to get all your Chicago guys in here.
represent. All right, Tyler, great episode as always. Thanks to everyone listening. You know the phrase, you know the saying. Just remember, you're in this for life. It's Dynasty, baby.